Go ahead and tell your buddies up there I'm in f***ing mode, bud. I ain't got no buddies up here. Good. Me either.
And you know what? It was brown rice too, Carl.
No.
Just for you.
I thought he asked.
You know, I rock with brown rice, so
with that too.
anyway. Yeah.
Hey, man.
Don't say stop, bro.
Oh, my bad.
Red light's been on for 5 minutes.
That is
man.
the 6th censor beat in
God.
5 minutes and 19 seconds. I don't have time.
Demonetized.
Can we start, please, before Danny?
Yeah, I
cuts
got
us all
you.
Yeah,
out?
we
I
will
got
go
you,
ahead.
I
We'll
got
kick
you, I
this
got
off.
you.
We'll kick this
Anyway,
off.
yeah, let's kick it off.
All right, yo, welcome. If you haven't heard, welcome to another episode of Victory Lane Vibes. We are your hostesses with the mostesses. As you can see, the studio is full. We have Art, Bonte, Carl, Kiana, Danny, and myself. We're going to take you down a route ride this evening, but first we're going to start off with our new season, with our newest segment, Spilled Milk.
Spilled milk. All over the floor.
So I had fully prepared I had this whole deal rehearsed, really, that I was going to talk about this the controversy of, like, there might be a possibility that, like, we may get Netflix fans based upon the show that just came out. And just to remind everybody, like, anytime we bring anything up on this, it's not singling out one person. I have to see it multiple times for it to qualify for me to say it's spilled milk. And although the original tweet about it, I think, was a joke, I really think the creator that made that initial tweet that got everybody in an uproar was joking, but people took it too far. I got to scrap all that, because as I'm leaving Papa John's with my $20 pizza, I see a tweet where Joey Logano has said that he is at an impasse with Ty Gibbs, and this is really spilled milk just for Joey Logano. But he says he's at an impasse with Ty Gibbs, and that they haven't been able to make up, or whatever the case may be. And I'm just like, my man, like, the first 6 years of your career, all you did was make guys want to kick your ass. So much so that, like, your dad got his hard card pulled because he was constantly getting into fights that you were instigating on track. And even more so, you had a guy like Matt Kenseth, whose worst offense probably prior to 2015 was probably like just like cussing on the radio. Decide he was going to sit at the house for 2 weeks and take you out of Martinsville because you were driving over your weird little Connecticut head. Like, come on, man! Like, don't be funny about it and act like you don't know where that kid's coming from. And also, you're mad about contact at a track that's 1/4 the mile. I mean, if it was somewhere like Daytona or Charlotte or whatever and deliberate, I would kind of understand it. But also, let's not forget that 3 months ago, you sent him, like, careening down to turn 2 at Martinsville just for the hell of it to try to get back at Denny Hamlin. So I don't know if it's kind of a spilled milk, but he's crying over something. And that really pissed me off seeing that, because it's like, I fully understand that, like, as talented as he is, I mean, you got talking about a Daytona 500 and 2 championships, an all-star race. I don't think he's won a Coke 600, but he's won a whole lot of stuff, and you can't get over contact at an event like that. Like, nah, man, that's not that's not very befitting of a multi-time Cup champion. So anyway, that's my small rant for spilled milk, and because I'm sure we'll talk about the Netflix show anyway. So
Yeah, while you brought it up, let's
Yeah.
talk about the Netflix show.
yeah,
I binged it the first day, didn't do any work that day. Shout out Netflix and Wi-Fi. Blew right through it. I enjoyed it. Thankfully, NASCAR paid Netflix to use the 4K cameras like they do for Drive to Survive, so everything was really clear and interesting. I just hope, and I'm going to open up the floor to you guys. So I want them to do a second season of it. I want the people who didn't participate to see how easy it is just to give up your life for 10 weeks, because the content was there. And I guess those who didn't participate, who were in the chase, who thought it may be a distraction or take the eyes off the prize, champions in the show. So that was just eye-opening to me that you could Bubba was in it, obviously Denny. Bubba had a lot of experience doing docu-series with the race special that was on Netflix and the ESPN special that he did. So he was sort of used to being in a day in the life. But I'm glad that 2311 got a main component of the exposure just because they're an up and coming team. More eyes on what they're doing leads to more sponsorships and more opportunities for them. So I enjoyed it. I want more. I just want more people to participate. What y'all think?
Yeah, I'll go first. I feel like it was exactly what I wanted out of it. You know, we're all diehard NASCAR fans here, so I'm sure there's a lot of the information was stuff that we've all seen before, but they still had some really interesting little nuggets in there that I was really interested by. One thing that really stood out was the umbrella dance they talked about, where they walk the car with the umbrellas to keep it from expanding in the heat. Like that's something I've seen and I never knew the reason why. So little stuff like that I think was interesting for more hardcore fans. But if you're a casual fan, I mean, it's exactly what you need to get hooked. And I feel like that was the main demographic that they were going after. Those people that don't know anything about NASCAR or very, very little, who aren't likely to watch a race. Like they made the drivers seem cool and he made them seem like stars. And that's one thing that I've kind of been clamoring for. We've talked about it privately, but the idea of being a race car driver should be something that's really cool. If you're a kid, young adult, like that should be an exciting occupation that you want to see. They're strapped into rockets every weekend. So they did that. They made it accomplish that. They made it seem like it was glamorous, exciting. The personal side of it was really interesting. Denny was especially vulnerable, I feel, in the show, and it really, really made me appreciate him, I think, a bit more than I did before. It's one thing to know the guy who trash talks everyone and goes on podcasts and rags everyone, but then to see him having to deal with another bitter defeat at Martinsville and get cut off, that's real life. And that's the kind of stuff that you want to see and get more of. So I agree. I hope they come back for season 2. Yeah, give us some different drivers as well. Keeping it centered around the playoffs and really small, intimate like it was. I think it was perfect.
I'll go. I don't really have any additional notes to it. I mean, I did think that it was really well put together. I was going on fully expecting a lot of out of context sound bites to be used and crashes and things like that. And they actually did a really fantastic job of keeping everything confined to the timeline, like the here and now, what they were like showcasing. And so I thought that was really neat. it didn't do it didn't do too bad of like detaching what the sport is now to like what it used to be or anything like that, to where people have this false illusion if they're watching it for the first time of what's actually going on. I will say though that for one thing, people are like, oh, this is the end. Netflix is going to bring in the worst fans. Blah 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 blah. First of all, this is an incredibly niche sport. Let's get that out there. Second of all, I mean, we act as if like there's not 30% of the fan base now that that just willingly choose to like um not access any of the tools available to find out stuff about the sport they claim to love in the first place. And also, this isn't the first time that NASCAR's had original programming. They've had shows in the past that have done the exact same thing. So I'm not really understanding why it's such a like the sky is falling thing, because there's yet another dramatization series available. The only other thing about it is that I saw like there were complaints where people were like, oh man, they were like on Denny Hamlin's jock and 2311's jock the whole time. It was like propaganda for them. And it's just like, well, no, I mean, there was very real conversations if you paid attention, if you were a fan. There are very real conversations leading into the taping of this where people were like, I don't want cameras in my face this whole period of time, and I don't want things taken into context. Joey Logano, who I just like ragged on, I mean, had really good points about that. And I mean, I feel like when he spoke on MRN about that, he was really talking about a lot of the more senior guys in the garage anyway. So I can fully understand why a team like a 2311 or a Trackhouse, that are new, that are energetic, that are breaking the mold and doing things differently, while they would absolutely love to put themselves in front of the camera and give everybody a dive into what's going on, And I think that, I mean, they did a really good job of it because, I mean, just for example, my dad, who tries to keep up with the sport, but he doesn't know a whole lot outside of like some base level stuff, Bubba Wallace and Kyle Busch, that's who I root for. Like, he texted me and he was like, man, that booty got hell, ain't he? Like, he was like, sent me like a laughing emoji or whatever. And that's good. That's the kind of reactions you want to have, and that's the kind of reaction 2311 wanted to have, is like, to show people like inside of that. So I don't see why that was a big issue in the first place. Hopefully, just like with Drive to Survive, the second season or the seasons afterwards include more personalities and more drivers and an insight to teams and stuff like that. And we have even more content for the next season. So no, all in all, I think is great. And if there are any Netflix fans that we get from that, the more the merrier, honestly. So
Yeah, I think people are making a big stink out of things just to do that. Obviously, we know a lot of people in this fandom like to dramatize things for attention and retweets or whatever, but um, I think it's important that we do these things. And I've probably been one of the main people just like begging NASCAR to get these people on TV, national TV, not just Netflix, because I mean, Netflix isn't accessible to everybody. They need to be doing the Today Show. They need to be doing the Tonight Show. They need to be doing all kinds of stuff. And so it's been nice to see them, trying to get more publicity for the drivers. But I still think, it's going to take a while for, the drivers to really be mainstream names like they used to be. But this is a good first step. And, for the casual person just like scrolling through Netflix, if they see it and they watch it and they like it, that's great. I had I want to say at least like three or four people in the past week that I got to watch it who aren't, huge Netflix. Well, they don't really watch stuff on Netflix, but they were like, oh, that's on there. Let me go look that, I'm gonna check that out. And so it's kind of cool to see people, you know, start to really think about, oh, this is something I could probably watch. I haven't been paying attention. Or people who left NASCAR alone, maybe 5 to 10 years ago, and now they're coming back or looking for a way back. This is a good way for them to jump back in because it kind of catches them up with everything that happened last season. So, yeah, I mean, it's, something that's needed. And I feel like some fans just don't understand the business side of things or the marketing side of things, and they just complain to complain. Um, but I really think they did a great job. And I also feel like, kind of focusing on Denny's story, I think that opened a lot of people's eyes because I don't think they realized how much he was dealing with personally. Um, and I really appreciate him being vulnerable about that and just being real about, you know, the injuries that can happen with NASCAR. I don't think a lot of people think about that, especially the casual fans. They don't realize how much these drivers go through with each race. So, yeah, I think they did a great job and I hope they do expand it. I would love to see them expand it to, Xfinity trucks. Like, let's just get, a series for each level because I think those stories would actually be more interesting than the Cup stories. Um, so I really hope that they'll, see the reception to the Cup stories and maybe start to focus on the lower levels too.
Yeah, it's funny, you talk about today's show, tonight's show, and I think, like you correctly pointed out, it's not 1994 anymore. Broadly speaking, American mass consciousness does not give a toss about NASCAR anymore. Um, at least for the meantime, certainly that ship has long since sailed. Um, but unfortunately, I haven't gotten the opportunity to circle around to this. If you've been paying attention, my head has been very firmly underwater with the other show. Um, since the Netflix special dropped, but the reaction have actually, broadly speaking, been super duper positive that I've seen, and I think that is a very very good sign. I think it shows that there's an appetite for something like this. Um, I think it shows that certainly if from everything I've heard, it certainly seems like it's well produced, not overly dramatized, because as much as I like frankly like some of the broader exposure that if we talk about kind of the Drive to Survive effect, or if you want to talk about American motorsports, maybe that should be 100 Days to Indy effect. New season actually will be dropping here pretty soon, but what that can do and the kind of what it takes to make these things seem interesting to the casual audience. You get some odd moments of dramatization that contextually don't really make sense and so on and so forth. And it seems like they've managed to avoid a lot of these pitfalls, yet still make this series captivating enough, which is I recognize that's a very difficult balance to strike. And I applaud them for that tremendously. But yeah, so it's one of those things, and certainly hearing the broadly positive reactions amongst this set, maybe once the F1 news cycle can stop being on fire for more than about 5 minutes, then perhaps I can dig out the free time to sit and give it a go. But the gamut of positive reactions certainly incentivizes me, which is, I think that too, in and of itself, is kind of a good sign.
Yeah, shameless plug. Y'all make sure you listen to Chicanery. There was some shenanigans that happened last week. There's some shenanigans happening this week, so I know that the next episode is gonna be a barn burner too. But we'll move on. The Clash. Denny Hamlin put out a cryptic tweet saying, "Hold your horses. We might have something here." The next thing we know, all of our phones are blowing up, notifications everywhere. Not only did NASCAR decide to move the race up, which is unprecedented in NASCAR. I feel that's the first time in history an event has moved up for weather so they could still run it. They opened up the stands, refunded everybody's money. Y'all come for free, come check it out. We're going to get this in before this monsoon comes. And we had us a race Saturday night. Short track under the lights, different format. They got rid of all the heat races, gave you some practice time. Go fight, win for qualifying. 23 cars made the race. Some prizes. I feel like didn't. Certain somebody ruined the debut of the Mobile One scheme on a certain Toyota. But we'll talk about that here in a second. But Denny Hamlin wins the day early Clash at the LA Coliseum. What were your takes on the race? We'll start with you, Bonte. I wanna let me give you the first draw. What did you think of the race?
Um, Way better than last year. Not too chaotic. It's a bit chaotic, but race was cool. It's a bit different because we didn't get the heat races in the last year, the qualifiers, because due to the storm and the next day. But I I really enjoyed it though. But it's kind of weird to see a event moved up on a Saturday due to rain. But that's W NASCAR right there. But a lot of big names didn't even make the race. Surprising, especially Bell. You hate to see it. Um, but overall, it was cool.
Yeah, I can follow up. Yeah, I mean, NASCAR has in the past gotten a decision regarding whether I think wrong sometimes. I don't know. They're hard pressed, and I'll be damned if like the last like 2 years, every time they want to do something cool, it's 3 years even. It's been just muddied, quote unquote. It's been quite literally muddied with rain. Like the weekend of the inaugural race at Coda, I mean, like the only race it was dry for was the Xfinity race. It was horrid. The Cup race, Chicago last year, the Bristol Dirt race in 22, and then this, and then finally they're just like, look, we just got to do what we got to do. We can't wait this out. Obviously, they're all the way on the West Coast. They'll be back on the East Coast this week for the 500, and yeah, I mean, I thought it was, I got to catch probably the last half of it. I thought it was. I will say, I don't know that I paid too much attention to this, but I heard that they were, I guess, shifting less. Is that true? And I mean, from the onboards, it sounded like it. Okay, yeah, that's what I thought I heard. And I will say the racing was not as abysmal as it had been there in years past. Now, a lot of guys were from jump, like we're just going to push guys out of the way, which that's fine. And we can have a discussion later about the future of the Clash. But I will say this: I don't know. I thought it was pretty good. It was what it was supposed to be. It was entertaining. It was an exhibition race. There were fireworks, so to speak, and I think that's what an exhibition race is supposed to be. Yeah, I mean, I thought it was cool. There's not a whole lot to say about it. Definitely cool to see Denny come out of the box like that and win, especially at a place that I think a lot of people thought he might have some trouble at with his shoulder and him saying he wasn't going to be at 100% in X, Y, and Z. And then, to be at a short track and you've got Kyle Busch behind you, which is like one of the best at places like that, and you're locking with the right front every corner, and to manage to hold him off through all that and win is a pretty amazing drive. So I don't think that we should skim over that feat anytime soon. But yeah, I mean, like so, no, it was a really cool race, really cool weekend. We didn't have to sit through a televised Machine Gun Kelly concert, so even better.
Thank God.
All right, what are your thoughts on it?
Yeah, musical taste aside, I have to agree though. Just kidding. But I enjoyed it as well. I thought it was exactly what they could get out of the situation. The only real downside for me was losing out on the heat races. I always enjoy those. I think that's just a fun change up. That's was exclusive for the Clash here. The one thing I noticed, especially, I don't remember the past clashes in LA, but it seemed like it was definitely easier to pass. Obviously, there's a lot of bumping, a lot of banging, short track racing. Uh, but you saw Bubba drive through the field. You saw Blaney drive through the field. Um, I think Truex also came from the back to the front. So you could make moves and get through traffic throughout the race, which is exactly what you want. Carl touched on the lack of shifting. So that's exciting to see. I'm really more interested to see what happens at a Bristol or Martinsville for that. But yeah, I mean, that was one of those cases you had to make chicken salad out of chicken shit, and they just really got dealt a bad hand. And I felt for them because I've done a few events for work, and the one thing you can't predict fully is Mother Nature. And I mean, you saw how bad it was in LA the next day. Like there was zero chance they'd still be stuck out there right now, and it's 48 hours after the race was supposed to go off. So all in all, they did the best they could out of it. I'm interested. I don't know. We're going to talk more about the future of the Clash later, or can we touch on it now?
That was gonna be after the
Yeah,
next
after
little
we
pitch.
Okay,
go
okay.
around.
Then I'll
Yeah,
be
yeah.
quiet. I'll be quiet. But yeah,
They
no,
got the toxic piece.
I thought it was fun though. I'm happy for Denny. He talked about how bad he was hurting, like Carl mentioned, and we saw it on the Netflix show. Like he was really struggling to get out the car. So if him getting this surgery makes him, let's say, 2% better, right, in the car, well, then he was pretty dang close to making it to Phoenix. Like that 2% might be all that he needs to make it there and really have a shot this year. So um, he definitely made a bit of a statement there. I know it's a exhibition race. I know it's quarter mile, whatever, whatever. But to go out there and get the win, like everybody wants to win. So good for him. Kyle Busch, Ryan Blaney also had good runs. So I'm all in all happy with it. I think he did what he was supposed to do.
Yeah, I thought it was great. And I think, again, you kind of have to go back to the conversation of fans not understanding the premise of this race. It wasn't a points race. We're having fun. Let's just have fun. Okay? It's not supposed to be this, like, oh my God, the season's over, all that crap. Like, just leave it alone. Let's just have fun. This is the first time we've seen, cars on the track for this year, and it's supposed to be exciting. It's supposed to be, again, an exhibition. And you kind of do have to treat it like the Netflix show. You have to realize they're really trying to pull people in to get interested in the sport. And so, no, it's not going to be what you're used to with most races, but it's still going to be pretty cool. There's good action in it. Um, and I thought they did great this year with everything that they had to deal with. I thought they did great. And I also love that they had, um, you know, so many different elements that they could still pull into the race to like make it still an event, but even though it's not everything that they wanted to do, obviously heat races are really fun. Sucks to lose those, but having that, and we got to see the practice, we got to see how heated that got. That was pretty cool. But um watching NASCAR Mexico, and I mean, there's so many things that we got still out of that event, even though things got cut short. um so I really just think people need to be a little bit less, ungrateful with, things like this when they happen. I think that people just got really heated with the discussions for no reason. Um, and you just need to have fun. Like, it was cool. It was fun. The people who were enjoying the race, it was nice to just see people enjoying it and not whining every 10 seconds. Um, but yeah, I think it's still going to take some time for the more seasoned fans to come around to just like being able to enjoy a race versus treating everything like it needs to be overanalyzed. I think that's just the biggest issue that we're having right now within the fandom. Um, so I'm hoping with future clashes, people will just be able to see it that way, the same way we're trying to get everyone to see the Netflix show. Just see this as an opportunity to pull in new fans, casual fans, people who have maybe walked away from the sport and need to be pulled back in with some stuff. That's really what this is for. So I'm hoping the future ones will help with that.
Yeah, certainly given the circumstances, this went, truth be told, probably about as well as it was ever going to. When you consider sort of, very much backs pressed up against the wall for time. Now granted, depending on where you look, the severity, well, varied. I do apologize. It's a bit clunky, um, but we knew that the weather was gonna suck, ostensibly. So to kind of push that forward, to try to get something and kind of make it salvageable was well done. It is one of the reasonably competent bits of NASCAR decision making, and if this sets the tone for the year, then I will be very, very happy. Um, Now, certainly, yeah, it's funny. There was a lot of talk about less shifting, but it was hilarious because Chase Briscoe very briefly went basically the top of the timetable, and he did that through basically driving the car like we did last year, which was fascinating to see. It still seems like, broadly speaking, um, a bit less is probably quicker, but of course it's worth knowing, getting to a race scenario and blah blah yada yada. Then it's not quite apples to apples. So you know, as much has already been stated, once we move to more traditional, for want of a better word, short tracks, that will really be sort of the proof in the pudding. Um, but yes, it was also fun and actually kind of curious to see cars actually working their way up. Because yes, Bubba drove up through the field a couple of times. Blaney drove up through the field. I seem to think Kozlowski started super far back too and worked his way forward. So you had a number of drivers that sort of started on the back foot, but were able to, broadly speaking, finish the day in a decent position, which is curious to see. That's not something that we've really seen with this car yet. So, you know, as much as we were not willing to give NASCAR the time of day with the proposed updates, maybe there was actually something to that, and they aren't quite as incompetent as everybody has correctly labeled them as. Um, we'll see. The big proof will really be at Daytona coming up with them. We'll really see how these cars behave. But yeah, all things considered, not bad. Also, NASCAR Mexico was very, very fun.
Yeah, it was.
So I'm on while we're talking about the clash right quick, I want to circle back and let's talk about these acts of terrorism that were witnessed. As some of you may or may not know,
Man,
Twitter
what?
and all of forms of social media were up in arms because Fox just did a terrible job following the on-track action during and after the race. Personally, I was appalled by the actions of the Hendrick Motorsports drivers of one Kyle Larson and one Alex Bowman. Apparently, wrecking people during the yellow flag is acceptable. We talk about all the time. we have this group chat where a lot of us participate in, and we were almost at fisticuffs via the internet because we have some Bowman fans, and they thought that what he did was right, and yes, he should have hit Bubba. So um, we had that happen. Ricky Stenhouse got out of his car during the halftime show and wanted to pull up on John Hunter Nemechek and slap him around a little bit. For Dollar Tree card, like brand new car, brand new sponsor. He getting yoked up at halftime. Why didn't his driver's suit match his car? That's a conversation for the other day.
I don't know. Yeah.
But
Because he
yeah,
whack. That's why.
Yeah, exactly.
was there something in the air? Like, do we actually have short track beef now? Apparently,
Ty,
Ty Gibbs and Joey Logano
Logano.
back hating each other again. Like it's gonna be on and popping at
Man.
Daytona. Like
that
what was the cause or the reason? What was the reason?
Man, there's a lot to talk about, but first and foremost, man, if there's anybody in the Cup garage that has nobody getting mad at how somebody else drives, it is Olive Branch owns Ricky Stenhouse Jr. But take your ass on somewhere, man. Golly. Oh man, I was like, I didn't know about the John Hunter thing until after the fact, but I did see him and McDowell beefing, and I was like, it just reminded me of like there's like that meme picture where it's like a homeless man called out a homeless man to protest. Oh man, but no, yeah. As far as like the other terrorism goes, man, look, I don't. I'm not particularly mad at who it happened to or anything like that. Like because like I'm not gonna sit here and say like Bubba didn't dish it out or whatever the case may be. Like because we was cheering him on. Like Bubba coming on the radio, he was like, "Yeah, I'm in effort mode." Everybody's like, "Yeah, that's our stuff." Look, man, it's a fourth of a mile track. It's inside of a coliseum. There's not enough room for those cars. They're gonna bulldoze each other. It's an exhibition race. There's no points on the table. It doesn't matter. So I have no problem whatsoever with like drivers getting physical. Where I do have a problem is that you wait until the very last corner of the last lap where there is nothing really to be gained, mind you, and you miss the corner entirely and almost wreck another driver just to prove your point and be like, I wasn't going to take that. But you had opportunities outside of that, Mr. Larson, to do that. And furthermore, for people who felt like for like when I said like greatest driver in the world can't handle being raced, people got mad about it. I was just like in my mind, I'm like, well, if he was that good, he would have understood he had opportunities to do what he was trying to do well ahead of when he did it.
Thank you.
You know what I mean?
Like, that's it.
like, it's just like, come on, man. Like just you gotta have follow through in that regard. And then the other hand, and on the other instance, I don't so much care about the Bubba Bowman situation because I just feel like that was like a very clear and blatant miscommunication. What I do have an issue with though, what is it going to take for Ross Chastain to just calm the down?
Thank you. That's what I was
God,
waiting
He's
for.
got Spurtman
golly,
syndrome.
like,
That's what it is. And
Man.
it's pretty
Dude,
obvious.
nothing.
and then the
nothing-
worst part
nothing-
is you hit Reddick for no reason.
nothing has made me
Nothing
as,
he does
as
has
angry
reason.
as that.
So
No, it doesn't. And nothing has made me that angry as what he did at the end. So I'm like, first of all, you don't even know why Reddit got into you or anything like that. And second of all, it's over with, man. It's done. You know what I mean? Like, there's no again, like Cardi B, like, what was the reason? I just like, come on, man, golly. And I just like, it's already just starting this nonsense or whatever the case may be. But my biggest beef of all is Fox.
Thank you, bro.
Talk to him.
I know,
Talk to the people.
I know for a fact. I know for a fact they saw how bad they got dragged when it was NBC's turn to broadcast. I know they saw the Twitter mentions. Whatchamacallit was talking about Twitter fingers earlier in the season last year.
Mike Joy.
And yet Mike Joy, and we come back and y'all doing the same old shit. What is the deal, man?
Terrible, man.
Come on. Like, I'm like the finish to that race, I was like, all of the joy and excitement I had for this first half of the season is gone. Because let me tell you what's gonna happen. There's gonna be a 6 or 7 car breakaway with 2 laps to go at the end of the 500. Mark my words. And there's going to be a wreck in like 22nd, and they're going to cut to the wreck in 22nd, and then miss somebody passing for the win by like 1,000th of a second, and like give the most like unenthused call. It'll be like, I don't know, man. Ryan Blaney wins a 500, and it'll cut back to
They're
the
gonna cut back to
crossing
Ricky
line. And it's
Stenhouse
like,
and
and
Ross Chastain fighting for
yeah, it's
20th.
just like,
Yeah.
come on, brother. Like, how y'all fallen from grace is bad? This is horrendous.
I just want to know how.
There
I just want
are
to know how is it that the track is a quarter of a mile?
And
You
you
have
can't
two
get
wrecks
off.
on the same lap, and I can't
Right.
see either of them.
Can't even do
Trash.
that.
I'm seeing
One
cell
job.
phone video from the
That's what I'm
stands
saying.
that has done it better. Come on,
Yeah,
man.
one job. Can't even do that.
Shout out iPhone.
Well, honestly,
my
okay, so going back to
God,
Sorry,
Ross,
okay.
going back to
Okay.
Ross,
Yeah.
it was interesting seeing him act like that after just having watched the Netflix special. I thought that was very interesting because you can see everything that he says and does in the Netflix special, it all translated to the track at the Clash. And that's really where I was just like, well, my feelings about him have been confirmed because I mean, it's just, you get to a certain point, it's like, all right, you want to be cocky, cool. I know you got talent. I've seen it. We've been watching it for the last few years. That's great. But don't let it get to the point where you're just making stupid decisions on the track just, so you can feel like Mr. Big Man when you get out the car every week. You know
who Ross is? Ross is
he's a spicy
Ross
Ricky Stenhouse. That's what he is.
No, he reminds me a lot now of like Carl Edwards in the sense that like he will smile at you and have the most dead eyes and then like try to snuff you as soon as you turn your back.
Pretty much. Yeah.
He really just has this no remorse. It is what it is. What are you gonna do about it? We've already wrecked kind of attitude. And I'm just like, man, because you want to like his story. It's like, man, he really came from the trenches. I saw a tweet today where, like, as recent as 2018, he was starting and parking like some clapped out truck in the truck series or whatever for Beaver Motorsports, which whoever that was, I don't even remember I know it was a 50 truck, but that was it. But it's like the truck you get in NASCAR heat at the beginning that you can't finish like above like 36 with, no matter how bad you try. And so it's like, man, he came from that to like contending for titles in a short period of time, and even had a major setback of a sponsor pulling out. And you still driving like this, bro?
Yeah. You
Make it make sense, man. But
they got Bush
and
Light
it's
coming now.
same with Joey and Ty. Grow up. Like, why are we still having this conversation? Joe, you at your big age, you need to grow up. Like, this don't make no sense. Like,
and worth noting, like this time last year, everybody was like, yeah, man, they're not gonna let Ty Gibbs do that in the Cup Series. He's gonna get his ass whipped. And then he was like quiet the whole year.
Literally.
Just didn't do nothing. He was just chilling the whole year. You know what I mean? And then now all of a sudden everybody's roaring back up. And I'm just like, he didn't even do anything. He got hit. What are you talking about? Like,
get mad at bro for no reason. He did nothing wrong.
It's bro, blind hate in this sport is so funny because it's just like there's nothing for you to hide behind.
I'm just waiting for Tyrell to throw hands one day. I feel like he's
coming.
He's gonna throw on
I felt like he was coming on the Holler game.
You know what? I'm kind of here for it. Like, I didn't think I could see myself being a Ty Gibbs like fan or supporter, but I'm like, Joey, you've been dumping this dude for weeks.
You've been dumping
everybody. Year. And then you come back and it's not even we preseason, bro. It's not even week 1.
Right.
And you get in my face on the lift? No. You about to
absolutely.
Fender to bumper.
I got enemies, got a lot of enemies.
Yeah. So but before we properly move on, it's something especially with Ross. There are a couple of bits. Because I am the sort of resident of useless open wheel trivia from about 35 years ago. When Mika Hakkinen was in his early career, he was marred by a lot of just useless accidents. I think it was Thierry Boutsen in 1995 said he will smile and shake your hand, and then he will run into you. And I think that is a very apt sort of characterization. Again, 2 different series spread across, at this point, the better part of 40 years. So, I mean, let's be clear. These are not quite one-to-one situations, but I think that is very apt. And then after, NASCAR tweeted effectively the onboards of of Tyler Reddick and Chastain. I tweeted, and again, I think this is also very accurate, but I said that honestly, it beggars belief that Ross can be such a gargantuan jerk. I'll censor myself there because that was not what I said. Yet be so impossibly wrong in just about every situation that he's in.
Thank you.
No
And
hits, only misses.
Yeah.
and that is it genuinely boggles the mind. It's like, and especially after in the middle of the summer, that whole thing with him, sitting down with Mr. H about, stop beating up my race cars and blah blah yada yada. And I mean, and to be fair, I guess this wasn't another Chevy, so maybe it's fine and nobody cares. But it's genuinely, it is. It's kind of a repeat of the same behavior. And again, there's some amount of mitigating circumstances. These cars are bloody gigantic. This car is
Oh yeah.
absolutely tiny. Or think I got that right. It's late.
The track is
Yeah,
tiny.
thank
The
you.
cars are
Thank you very much.
Yeah.
It's
I get what
yeah,
you're saying.
it's late. So yes, it's cars big, track small. So there's gonna be some bumping, there's gonna be some banging. That's just something that's gonna happen. But yeah, this is just, it seems just so silly and completely uncalled for. So well, I mean, we'll see what happens, but I fully predict, I don't know, is he gonna, sit down with Coach Gibbs? Is he gonna have a chat with, Danny and Michael? If this keeps up, well, like what's gonna happen here? Because we're gonna get to the point where he's basically gonna wreck himself out of a ride if basically all the owners and half the Cup garage hates him.
Paul Tracy.
I foresee
Man.
hands and feet in his future. If it comes to
Yeah,
him
man.
versus 2311, he ain't gonna make it out of airspeed if he pull up.
Man,
it ain't gonna happen.
him versus anybody but Noah. And Noah, I feel like wasn't on the quick draw because trying to be on his best behavior, and he had that haircut. But I feel like anybody else in that situation. Look, man, look, bro. If I walked around looking like that, bro, I'd be on my P's and Q's too,
Trying to
man.
avoid the camera by any
Dog,
means
dog,
necessary.
Yeah, exactly, bro. Because the worst case, because I know in his mind he was like, worst case scenario is I get beat up with a haircut on camera. And that's
Exactly what
what
happened.
happened. And you know what, man? I'm gonna be real with you too. I went back and I watched that video the other day, and I was like, man, Ross was even untamed here because like Noah was mid sentence and Ross is throwing on his ass.
That's how you know that this isn't his first time,
Right.
because he grabbed his right arm with his left hand, so he couldn't throw with his
Yeah.
dominant hand. That's a hockey move right there, right? You get the dominant arm, and then right mid sentences, swing on him. Like Ross,
That's a
Ross
country
been in some
boy.
alleyways somewhere.
Yeah, that's a country boy.
Y'all do realize he's based on living the farm, so
he down there punching watermelons?
Yeah.
Is that what you mean to tell me? He's ruining
No,
his family
no,
crop?
because there's an old country homage that I've heard a number of times, which is like when I start whooping a guy's ass, I start hitting him with my bad arm, my left arm, if you're right-handed, and that way when they come, they grab my arm, I can hit them with my good. And so that's probably what Ross is doing. But anyway, yeah, exactly what Danny said though. It's just like, the ends don't justify the means, man. And it's just so exhausting to see him being praised for this. I'm just like, look, man, the talent is there, but the logic and just the mental maturity is just not, man, at all. And it's just like, I hate to be this way because I'm trying to like operate in this like sphere of like not putting anybody like to a golden standard, but I can think of 3 Cup drivers right now that if they had a rap sheet like Chastain has had the last 2 years, they would be universally hated at this point. There would be no justification. If I won't say Kyle Busch, if a Denny Hamlin or a Bubba Wallace, especially, Ty Gibbs, who else? I guess anybody associated with Toyota really had done something similar. Like I said, it would have been all out warfare. So anyway, but that's all there is about that.
I have one last thing, and then we can move on, just from the
Yeah,
clash and terroristic acts, because I just know there are going to be some folks hate listening to us right now. You know, people hate watch, they hate listen,
Right.
and I'm gonna try to be good. I'm gonna try my best.
Oh Lord.
But for these smooth brain
Oh my
fans
god.
that have been in my DMs for the last 3 days and on my mentions the last 3 days, there is a difference between bumping at a short track and dumping a guy. Kyle Larson knows how to do both.
Right.
And he did both. He did one right up until the end.
Mhm.
You coming and telling me, oh, well, Bubba hit Larson the last 3 laps. Brother, everyone was bumping
Everybody.
everyone.
Yeah,
Exactly.
It's a
exactly,
universal
exactly.
truth. But no one was
There's bumping a guy and there's missing a
there's
corner.
and everyone's bumping everyone, and that's fine. Like if you moved him out of the way, like hey, it's whatever. But look, you're racing God dumped him on purpose. And you know what? Just admit it. Like it's okay. Like your driver did something that wasn't cool. Just move on with it. But to sit there and act like, "Oh, he's justified. He was hit."
Oh
My brother in Christ, then everyone should be dumping everybody every single lap because everyone's been hit every single lap. Like, why do you think this one car is special? So I just had to get that out there. I had to. It got to be to the point
Agreed.
where I literally had to stop replying and just retweeting the same old tweet back to them saying there's a difference between bumping and dumping. And a lot of these people are the same ones that get into my mentions and tell me I don't know racing because I'm not at a cornfield in Kentucky somewhere watching a bunch of plumbers and farmers race on a Tuesday night, but you suddenly don't know the difference between bumping and dumping at a short track.
It's projection.
The math ain't mathin'. 2 plus 2 does not equal fish. Let's get it together here.
Yo.
Bro,
No, the
like
answer to
I
that is
just
5.
No, straight
I'm
up.
sorry. They're like so many people are like, "Oh, see, with 2 laps to go, Bubba hit Kyle in the rear bumper."
It was like 10 people
Yeah.
bumping at the same time, bro. Like,
Yeah.
come
And I'm
on.
like, "Hey, my reply is always, yeah, and what happened after the corner? Larson was still facing straight." Like
Right.
you can't sit here and act like this. And I just think it's gonna be a real long season for some people because you know I don't go out looking for Twitter trolls. Like I do not fish for them. I don't search for drivers or anything. But if you come to me, if you come to my tweet, brother, you're gonna hear about it. Like
Right.
you came to my house,
Yeah.
you knocked on my door. So I just know they're out there and I know they're listening because they're really a fan in disguise. They just don't want to admit it. Like, brother, your driver messed up. It's okay. Like he's still a good driver, you know. Just let it go. Like it's fine. If you don't want to let it go, just tweet at me again. I'll keep going because I got time. One thing I
Greatest
can
driver in
promise
the
you.
world, huh?
Yeah. Greatest
That's
driver in the
what's
world,
missing.
you know. So I just had
Well,
to
if
get that
you
out.
if you thought that was gonna have y'all riled up, this next topic is I'm gonna have to split this up in 2 parts because I know that Art's gonna go off the hinges on this one.
Oh,
So,
no.
the Clash format, as it originally was designed, was for poll winners. There was some angst with some team owners. I think Chris Rice and Justin Marks were a little ticked. They're charter members. You had to go all the way to Los Angeles, California, where apparently it does rain, and you didn't make the main show. All of this was for what? What I suggest to the committing the body, the people who make the decisions, let's go back to the original format. Poll winners, you get to participate in the clash. That's the format I want. If you didn't win a poll, sit you behind home. Depending upon in part 2, I'll come back to what we'll do for everybody else to get to play in the sandbox. But I genuinely think that the best exhibition races are how they were originally started. If you win a poll, come to the clash. You win a race, you're an all-star. You're an all-star event. That's how it should be. We need to go back to our roots. I understand that this is a big opportunity for a lot of the sponsors and things to get TV time and get their name and faces on cars and all that stuff. But if you sponsor trash, you should not get rewarded. So thoughts? What do y'all think? How should it? We'll just start there, and then I'll move to part B. Should the Clash format stay as it is and make all 36 people waste diesel to come and play in a stadium, or where should we go from here? This is just the format of the Clash, just the format. I'm preface that.
Yeah,
Just to float.
I'm all in favor of that. I'm a big proponent of if it ain't broke, don't fix it. I mean, maybe people were, I don't know. I don't feel like people were really clamoring to have the whole field in the clash. And someone online brought up a good point. If you were going to keep it at a track that's a quarter mile, having less cars like that might make it a better product. So I really don't have any issue with that. The only thing I would like to see is maybe give an optional heat race and like the top two can advance. Like, so if you're like a small team, like if you're like a Rick Ware Racing level team and like like we're just gonna go out there and ride around, you don't have to drive your car across the country to ride around for 50 laps and bring it back home. Like, I feel like that's a nice compromise. That way, if there's a sponsor that's like, oh, I really want you to be in this race, I'll pay, 50 grand for you to go out there or whatever it costs. Like, that seems like a middle ground that could be reached. But yeah, like, I'm fine with it. I never really had a concern with, oh, I wish more drivers were in this. Because again, like you said, it's just an exhibition race. Like, there's no points, there's nothing on the line. Like, it can be different. Like, it can have different rules.
Yeah, I'll say this real quick. We used to be a proper country. Exhibition
Oh
races used to be
God.
special. Um, I don't, and not to sound like a guy that owns a Corvette and a fresh pair of white New Balances,
Jesus.
but
You probably do.
there is no point
Right.
in this participation as trophy style of racing where you have guys show up for an event that used to be exclusive. It takes all the fun out of it because then you just have, you just no man. Yeah, the format should be changed to reward something other than congratulations, your team has a $40 million charter. End of story. I mean, and I'm going to go more about it when we talk about the next part of it because you mentioned the Netflix fans and people like not knowing stuff, and like I've noticed there's like a lot of revisionist history because people are like, well, the Clash when it was at Daytona sucked, and like they're referencing a Clash from like 2018 or 2019 when the format had been altered anyway, and it sucked then too for various reasons. So anyway, yes, you should have a format in both exhibition races that award some level of success or achievement and not just you show up and you might get lucky enough to just run the main event anyway. So because there's no world where Christopher Bell misses a race that freaking no offense Justin Haley was in. There's no world where that makes
That
sense to
That's
No
that,
me.
that pissed
offense.
me off
offensive.
so
So
No
much. I don't
offense.
care. I'm mad about
That's
that one,
offensive.
man.
We know
yeah,
Punte. I know.
yeah, yeah. So anyway, that's what I got to say about that.
I mean, it could work. I guess my one worry about I do think having a lower number of cars will make it more interesting because again, you get less of the bumper cars and you just get people like trying to race each other, and that's really the goal. But at the same time, I think it's still kind of cool for people, again, people who don't, maybe don't follow NASCAR as closely as the rest of us do. If this is the first time they're seeing the drivers all year, I think it's still a cool way to do that. And maybe, it could still be more exclusive, but if certain teams still want to bring cars or whatever to the Clash in person so that people can interact with them, that's fine too. So I feel like there's a happy medium that could be found with this and still make it, a good racing product, but also still introduce the sport to people the way it's intended. So um, I feel like they may consider some changes, maybe, but at the same time, I think it was still, again, I think it was still a good race this year. So I don't know. It could go either way.
I got one. How about instead of the drivers winning each heat race, the first 16 drivers who make the playoffs go to the Clash. Then the rest of the whatever, I'll shorten the field to 20 cars. It'll be three, three or four, whatever. When you win, cool. I don't need no. back burner driver made the race, and then you got Christopher Bell didn't. Justin Haley.
I was
At
waiting on that.
Walmart.
I was waiting on that.
Walmart. We at Walmart.
Hey
Walla
man,
walla walla
hey
walla
Shout out
walla
to
man.
walla world.
shout out to
Hey,
Walmart though.
hey.
Shout out to Walmart. You know what I'm talking about. But anyways, though, that's do that. Make the race at least 20 laps more, like 200 laps. This is like a little small race. Not not too much. Don't have no MGK. Thank God he ain't come through. Just had some better. But what I'm trying to say is like you make the class better. Just don't shorten the field with playoff drivers. That's all I gotta say.
Okay. All right.
I mean,
Danny.
I can see that.
Yeah,
Sorry,
I don't
go
want
ahead,
I don't want what happened last time when Crystal Bell out the race, and Justin Haley came through because he should never went in the first place. but
I mean, he blew up, so I mean, karma.
yeah, he,
Anyway, Danny.
yeah, Jared, yeah, we get it. Anyways, next, goodbye.
Are we finished?
You better take your chance now.
Yes, we
Yeah,
do.
I know, right? But, I guess, first of all, I want to kind of preface this. I certainly don't know what the correct answer is. On the one hand, I kind of understand, if it's, if it ain't broke. But, certainly on the other, much like I said before, it's not 1993 anymore or, frankly, 1990, whatever. Some of NASCAR's issues has been the fact that it hasn't really pushed to innovate. And then that's where, particularly the turn of the millennium, particularly the early aughts when things got stale. And, that was when you saw a noticeable spike in fan or general marketplace apathy. And, certainly we can talk all we want about the sort of decision by committee that is NASCAR and the way that tends to taint everything just sort of by virtue of how that goes. I think that's an appraisal for another day, but certainly some push to do something I think is good. Now, you can certainly argue, whether what we have now is good or not, Now, to be perfectly honest, if somebody like, Christopher Bell doesn't make the field, well, frankly, tough. What are you doing? It's like there's no reason why you should have effectively been outdriven by Haley in the first place. But so
Just
I
disgusting.
still don't know what that was about, but it's like, well, them's the breaks effectively. But but I do understand certainly the push to sort of, I guess, restore natural order, for want of a better phrase. But yeah, but so like I said, I don't know what the answer to what the solution is to the show. Certainly I think less cars is, broadly speaking, probably a good one. But beyond that, but I don't think a wholesale reversion to whatever format when we were still Clash format when broadcasts were still in Technicolor. I don't really think that's the answer either.
All right, now part 2. Should we move the Clash? My response is, you damn right. I want it back in Daytona. I wanted the Sunday leading up to the duels, like, and have a natural speed weeks like we used to. We used to qualify for the damn pole on Sunday, run the damn Clash, have the dual races, and then we used to have the trucks, Xfinity, and Cup. We used to be a proper country, and I want that back.
Absolutely.
I want that back.
Well,
Amen.
yeah,
It's-
about that
it's-
we ain't getting
Amen.
it. So
Ooh.
It's something about having IMSA and Daytona. Everybody's in Daytona. Daytona's the mecca. You have your Super Bowl. The NFL has the Pro Bowl, even though nobody watched flag football, but they do something leading up to the main event. If our pièce de résistance is the first race of the season, we need to be there and hype it up and do the media. Chase Elliott's ass need to be at the Hooters across the street from the track. Like we need
Oh my
need
God.
to blow this up. Like we have to be in Daytona for the entire week. these drivers don't have these nice motorhomes just to be down there for 3 days. Be like, okay, well, I guess we're going to Atlanta now. No, let's hype this back up. I want it back in Daytona. And if we take Bonte's idea, we have 16 cars, put neon lights under them again, like make them look like Fast and Furious extras, and let's go racing, boys. Boogity, boogity, boogity.
Oh
No,
my
man, I ain't
god.
gonna lie to
I
you. That
mean,
Bristol stuff
I
is
don't
kind of
know.
fire
Like
though.
we have the qualifying, which is a big deal, and then we have the dual races. Do we need a clash on top of that?
Yes.
Yes,
You
absolutely.
have to. There's
I,
prestige around it. Put $1 million
Absolutely
on the
not.
line and see what the race
There's
look like then.
prestige around the
Put $1
clash.
million up. Put $1 million up.
Well,
I
then
think
it's the
so.
All
It
Star
used to
look,
race.
be.
the class, the class is prestigious because nothing has ever been done like it before, and nothing is ever going to be done like it ever again. And I think whatever becomes of it, I think if we don't go back to it, we'll always remember like Joey Logano, Denny Hamlin, Martin Truex. Those are the guys that won at the LA Coliseum. Like, I mean, it's special in its own right. Here's my take on it. If I was a Cup Series driver tomorrow, and I only won 2 races, I would want them to be the 500 and the 600 respectively, because in those are the homes of NASCAR, and so I feel like I feel like it has always served place to have the 2 exhibition races we have every year leading up to the 2 biggest races that they have of the season. Like, it's only right. It's only right to have that there. And I understand everybody like is like, oh, we had the clash, all the cars are torn up, and they keep tweeting that one picture of that one race where Eric Jones was beat the hell up and Denny Hamlin a lap down pushing to the win. And it's like, okay, that's a relatively small sample size. I've been watching for, I don't know, 24, 23 years. All right. And I can only think of maybe 2 shootouts, clashes that I walked away from that I was like, man, that kind of stunk a little bit. I mean, it's just to hype you up for Speed Weeks. We used to have a thing called Speed Weeks, and Daytona deserves to have that sort of hype. And look, it's prestigious, and if you want to talk about the finishes, that's a different conversation for the rules package, and I can totally get behind that. But and if we want to have the conversation on cost saving, we can have that, because we don't have to run the clash the Sunday or the Saturday before the 500. We can do it the Wednesday night and then go qualify Thursday after. Qualify. We can qualify Wednesday afternoon. The Wednesday night we run the clash. Thursday is a duels. Friday is a truck race. I have no problem with that. Daytona deserves to have as many races as logically possible. A non-points paying exhibition race makes perfect sense. It is a sweet little treat for the fans that go down there, and I don't understand why we had to deviate from that the same way we had to deviate from going to Charlotte the week prior to the 600 for the All-Star race. If you've ever been to Charlotte, the fan service there is phenomenal. The fan experience is phenomenal. It deserves to be there. You will never get the same level of enjoyment as a fan going to bullshit North Wilkesboro or Bristol or Texas as you will being in Charlotte for 7 days if you can make that work. So I say that to say this. I want NASCAR to come out and call a spade and say we have it moved around and we don't do it based on poll winners or past winners and X, Y, and Z, because we have this charter system and everybody has to feel special. They have to get a participation trophy. Otherwise, they're going to boycott. So we have to include everybody because basically we pigeonholed ourselves. And that's really what this all boils down to. But yes, my final answer is the clash has always and should always be at Daytona the week before the 500. End story, case closed. I win.
My God.
I don't know
No.
about that.
Boom.
Anyways, forget what Carl said. No, I'm playing. In my opinion, I think the class should move to stadiums, different type of stadiums.
You paying for all that paving?
Huh?
The grass. What about the grass?
Yeah, they never gonna
That's
allow
what I
that
said.
with
Why
the
are we
grass.
spending money? We
That's
got a
the
perfectly
damn
good racetrack.
doggone grass. They better figure it out. Or
Look, you already get two. You get what? You have the Daytona 500 is the biggest race of the year. You have a summer race
yeah,
at
and you have the
Daytona.
400 in the
You
fall,
have
right? Yes,
you have
unreal.
two qualifying races, and you have qualifying. I don't think you're losing out that much from missing out on a 100 lap, whatever we're gonna call this. I mean, since it's no longer a pole qualifier, like
Right.
I would rather, like, here's the thing: if the duels didn't exist, I'd be 100% on your side,
Mhm.
like 100%. Like, I
Right.
think it's cool to have as much content down there as possible, but that's a lot of plate racing in a week and a half,
Good.
2 weeks, and like I
Oh,
love the concept of speed weeks, but look, if we're gonna have this tug of war between finding new audiences and giving back to our air quotes hardcore hometown fans, give the flipping crash to North Wilkesboro. Let them have that, and then put the All-Star race back in Charlotte. Like, I'd rather have that.
or
yeah.
Bristol.
Let me table this, and I'll shut up. If the qualifications for the Clash went back to previous season performance by some metrics, meaning they had to have been in the playoffs or won a stage or won a poll or whatever the case may be, and it wasn't everybody can show up and either you make the show or don't. If it was based on on some metric of performance from the last season, which means inevitably a smaller field, would the Clash being Daytona then be justifiable?
Yes.
My gut says still no. Like, is it better?
Man.
Yes, but
I
do
mean,
we
like
really
I get what
need
you're
that
saying,
much?
Art, but the purpose of the duels is to set the lineup for the start of the Daytona 500. It
If
serves a
anything,
purpose.
exactly. But that's the thing, right? Like, the duels have value. The Clash has no value. You're proving my
Hang $1
point.
million up. Hang
No
1.5.
shot. No shot.
That's what.
Pop out
But see,
No way.
now you're taking the All Stars gimmick. So
I
now we're gonna have.
mean,
So then why should we? You might as well just call it off season All Star race. Then
whole
at
season
that
all
point.
star.
So okay. Let me say this. Then. So were you saying this when we were going down to Daytona for the Budweiser shootout for all those years? Were you saying then this is too much
I
plate
didn't
racing?
know that this was a possibility in my mind at that time.
uh-huh.
My eyes were not open.
Here we
I'm
go.
like, I'm not. I listen. To be clear,
I
like, I don't hate the Clash at Daytona, but I'm saying, if I
right.
have to give up some form of NASCAR content to go to rural America somewhere to satisfy the hardcore fans, and you tell me I can give
Mhm.
up the Clash, the All-Star race, or a points paying race, because they're the only options that exist, I'm giving up the Clash first. It means the least.
Yeah.
I'd much
Is
rather
it
have
Yeah.
that,
It
because
and
does
then the
now.
All-Star race go back to Charlotte.
do you feel that way
Yeah.
because of the current format, or would you feel that way if it was still how it was in 2016 and the poll winners are that's who makes up the Clash field?
I still feel that way because NASCAR, like I said, there's this back and forth between, we want to do Chicago, well, now we have to give something the other direction, right? Like, we're trying to
You're right.
stretch in two different directions between hardcore old school fans finding new audiences. So I'm fine giving up the Clash to the hardcore old school fans, because that to me is the easiest thing for me to give up, versus I really don't want to go back to North Wilkesboro for a points paying race. Like, I'm not thrilled about
No.
that after what I saw last year at the All-Star race. But I'd rather have
Yeah. Well,
that.
you already
I'd
paid
rather have
that.
the Clash be there. And like I said, put the
Yeah.
All-Star race. The All-Star race should have never left Charlotte, first of all. Like, that was
Yeah.
a
Absolutely.
mistake.
100%.
So
100%.
Agreed.
100%.
Not
so
gonna
like,
lie.
there are only so many pieces you can move on this board, and to me, that move with the Clash satisfies the most. It can be, somewhere on the East Coast. They're not going all the way across the country to California
Right.
again. Like, it, even if
Yeah.
you're bouncing to several short tracks on the East Coast and in the South,
Rockingham.
like, sure, yeah,
Yeah.
go Rockingham. I love the Rock. Like, that's fine. But I just feel like that is the easiest solve versus trying to say, okay, well then now we've got to give up a point race. Like I'm not at all
Bro.
excited for North Wilkesboro to be a points paying race because it was follow the leader for 99% of the race.
Yeah, I mean, and again, I really feel like a lot of this is revisionist just because of format changes in the last years of the Clash and things like that, and package changes and stuff like that. And I've talked before about how the talent level in the Cup Series has took a nosedive when it comes to plate racing, so it's not as enjoyable. I would be willing to give concessions to what you're saying if they like did like something like a winter showdown somewhere like Martinsville. Like that'd be kind of cool, I guess. I think if you want to talk about, let me ask you this, and then I'll drop it completely. Because I think part of your hang up is like, okay, we have to, if we're giving something back for the old fans, we have to give something up for the new fans. Well, I mean, what if they took the Clash back to Daytona and they said from here on out it's free admission for everybody. There's no pay tickets for it. Anybody who wants to come can come. Never been to a race day in your life. If you're in the area, show up. Would that make any difference to you as far as making strides or inroads for new fans?
Not.
Because it's an exhibition race at the biggest track one of the biggest tracks we go
I
to.
he-
Play racing is fun to
I no no I hear you completely. For me, honestly, it wouldn't
right.
because I feel like Daytona on a TV level is probably most accessible by new fans, but in the stands themselves, I feel like those are hardcore fans that have been like camping out there for 2 weeks straight. So I feel like they're going to be out there anyway.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Kiana,
Like,
Danny. Oh, my bad. I didn't mean to cut you off.
Yeah. Yeah.
But
no, go ahead.
Yeah. Y'all
we've
go.
dominated this segment.
Yeah, I was just thinking that I don't necessarily disagree with Arthur, but I'm flipping this the other way. Make the Clash experimental. Make this, NASCAR wants to try something, funny. It's technically not the start of the season. It's not a points paying race, so who gives a shit, right? So just go and, you say, okay, well, we want to go try this, figure out how to, make it work. Of course, make sure it's vaguely raceable and make sure that the logistics aren't completely garbage. But, given the fact that this doesn't adhere to, the I was born in 1952 idea of what the Clash is supposed to be. I mean, we don't do that anyway. So go find something and just go have fun. Like I said again, make sure like the basic logistics work, because I'm not saying that NASCAR, the first thing that they should do next year is go figure out how to build a quarter mile, third of a mile, half market mile circuit around, Mount Rainier or something. That's dumb and would never work. But again, just something, different, maybe, I don't know, as much as, people, grumbled and groused and were genuinely annoyed with Bristol Dirt, which I thought that was super fun. But maybe for a non-points paying race, maybe for, kind of a, you know, bam, this is something, get us started, NASCAR's back, baby. You know, something like that maybe could have been fun. Or, insert, or maybe, like a more modern facility. They were using the Coliseum, but, maybe anything newer that has, popped up and can be, converted to, semi reasonably run as an oval. Could be fun to do. So my point is that, certainly, this whole, make, Daytona, was what it was, that ship has sailed. And honestly, I think it's probably, broadly speaking, I think it's a good thing that it has. The sport needs to, grow and change and evolve, and, keeping this, and, speed weeks can never change and blah, blah, yada, yada. That's how sports, that's how fan bases, that's how they die. Is because what happens is that panders to the old school hardcore audience, and then they get old and, well, become worm food. And then how then the newer fans are like, well, okay, well, I don't care about this at all. You guys have been doing this garbage since 1950. Why do I care? And that is the piece, and I think, and that's the part that really gets lost in these discussions. It very much, and frankly, even on this podcast, this becomes a case of very much us versus them. As old school diehards versus newer fans, and
Yeah, us versus Bonte.
that's
Oh my
shut up.
god.
I'm sorry.
Terrible.
But I mean, but all merriment aside, I think that's a discussion. I think that gets lost, a little bit. Certainly, having some of those, heritage tentpole events are absolutely good. You know, that's the 500. And even to a lesser extent, the duels. But and especially given and again, we have spilled, so much ink on, how garbage plate racing is now anyway. And of course, and that is not to say that that doesn't have the capacity to change. I mean, we'll see what the tweaks made with, the cars at, Daytona, how much of a change, be it good or bad, quite frankly, that ends up being. But it, like I said, there's a lot of nuance that gets lost in that. And I think having at least one race that they can go and try stuff and, what's the old Silicon Valley, go make stuff, break shit. Let them go do that with something like the Clash, where, like I said, in the grand scheme of things, it just doesn't matter. This race hasn't been even before the format change. I would argue that this race hasn't been of tantamount importance to anything in NASCAR in probably 25 years anyway. I mean, like, honestly, when was the last time, anybody except for, old, Jimbo from Bowling Green gave a toss about the Clash, honestly. Certainly in the context of what it used to be, I guess more accurately. Because of course, there's been lots of talk, particularly with it at the Coliseum in Los Angeles. But in the context of the old format, I don't remember people going on and on and on about, oh yeah, the Clash. Oh yeah, the Clash. So, go do stuff.
I think from a marketing standpoint, what I would like to see is for this to really be treated as like the kickoff to the season. And I feel like if they do it the correct way, it'll still satisfy, what all the OG fans want, but also kind of, satisfy their goal of bringing in new people. You can make it almost like really what I was thinking is more like Bubba's block parties and making it like a full event where it celebrates the fans, it celebrates the drivers, people can get up close to the cars and see stuff. And I feel like there's a way that they could do this. I would still take it out of LA. I don't think LA is the right place for it. I think it needs to be in a more centralized, accessible, recognizable place. But I really think if they do it the correct way,
Calling LA not
well,
recognizable
I
is
mean,
very, very
it's
funny.
LA, okay? Like, I'm not trying to see BBLs and Botox at a NASCAR. I'm like, I don't care. And
I mean, that
so,
completely circumvents the
I
point,
just,
but okay.
no, I feel like it's not the right place for what they're trying to do. And I think that's why it's not connecting with a lot of the fans because it's like, it's LA. Like, we just don't really think of LA. And so I think if you bring it to a place that has meaning or, something that doesn't require the teams to go all the way across the country, because I don't think that's a good idea either. Um, but making it a full event, if it has to be a multi-day event, great, do that. Kind of like how people were mad that they weren't going to have Saturday's events open, originally. I agree with that. I think that was dumb that they didn't do that. And that's kind of the stuff that NASCAR needs to decide how they want to handle it, because if you want to bring more people into the sport, you have to kind of get them to see the value of what you're offering. And I think they did a good job with that in Chicago, and all the the pre-race events that they were having in Chicago. I feel like they did a great job of that. So if they kind of apply that to the Clash, I feel like that might work. And so I just think there's a better way that they can do things to make it more appealing and still, achieve the goals that they have for what this event is supposed to be. And it's supposed to be fun. So make it like, hey, this is the season kickoff. We're having the clash. We're having, up the ante with, a big purse for winning the race. Something like just make it more enticing for people to watch, regardless of whether they're an OG fan or just kind of casually scrolling through and see it on the TV guide. Um, but yeah, I think there are some conversations to be had with how they can improve it. It's just going to depend on what NASCAR actually feels like they can do.
One
All right.
last thing before
Yeah,
we
go ahead,
go.
because I got it funny. Go ahead.
Okay, one last thing. I was just gonna say, like, I feel like in terms of them going to LA, like, I like the idea of it. I think that NASCAR kind of got lost in the allure of Los Angeles because it's such a huge market. Um,
Yeah.
in a past job I worked in involved a lot of sporting events around the country, and we always had stuff in LA. And unless it was the Lakers being amazing, it was like pulling teeth trying to get people to go to, just
Right.
because there's so much stuff to do in LA that even though there's a ton of people and there's a ton of money available, it's all getting pulled to, the beach, to museums, to a million different things. And so
Yeah.
that's a place where, it's not necessarily like a Chicago that's die hard, lives, breathes, and dies with sports. Like, um,
Yeah.
and so like I get the idea for it. I like the idea of trying it. Like Fox Sports has got a big presence out there in LA, so like there's a bit of a crossover there with it being the kickoff of the season on Fox. But yeah, I feel like if they were to get back, to Keanu's point, of a more central location or somewhere that isn't like a more sports starved area, that has that kind of ravenous fan base for sporting events, like that would probably be much more successful. I think like I said, it was worth a try, and I wouldn't consider it a failure. I don't think I would put it in that bucket, but I don't think it was the slam dunk that they hope for. If we were to grade it, I would give it like a B. I think it did a good job, but it just wasn't all that they hoped it would be.
Two things.
Yeah, I think. Yeah, one last bit to what Art was saying. So, like, I will say this. As much as I've hated on this event, it's just because like I'm a traditionalist and I felt like there was no reason to deviate. That being said, really cool idea. I just don't feel like LA is ever going to be a city that has enough of a base to facilitate like this event growing beyond what it is now. Also, I think a really big failing of its perception is trying to get the at-home audience as involved in the entertainment as the people at the track. Like I don't need to watch a televised concert. I don't need 15, 20 minutes of pre-race like bits with whatever comedian or actor is there. Like we can just watch the racing, and in the meantime you can fill it with commentary interviews. Like that's part of the reason I despised it, because like I went back and I watched last year's Clash A interview. They had some guy that was on some Fox comedy show about being the zookeeper, the beekeeper, whatever the hell it was, and just being like a total dork the whole time. And I was just like, if I was like Jimbo from Bowling Green, Kentucky, tuning in to watch the class, and I just sit through 15 minutes of this nonsense, I'd have turned the damn thing off. If I had no offense, like if I had to sit at home and watch an Ice Cube, performance when I can just pull it up and listen to it on Spotify, I'd have turned the damn thing off. Let me hear professionals talk about professional things. You aren't the Super Bowl. Nobody watching cares. If they're not there, they don't care. Anyway, go ahead, Jared.
So I was just gonna say, one thing that can save everybody's grief from it being in California, NASCAR. If you don't take all that money that you made from selling half of the Fontana track and fix it, and give us the short track we deserve, so help me God. I think that's a great place to have a crash, because the track design for that track is supposed to be amazing. I don't know what y'all waiting for, because I want it on this calendar this year, and y'all talking about something's not gonna be ready next year. You better fix it. And then the weekend didn't make Escape from LA for a reason. So he knows something. Maybe we should leave. Moving
Yeah.
on.
I actually, Jared, before you do, one final thing, because Carl said something that I thought was interesting, and we can ponder this a bit off air, or this can bleed into some other time. But mentioning certainly actually all of you have talked about it a little bit, and talking about, California is not really the market, blah, blah, blah. Well, you all know I have a, background in the automotive industry, worked as a part supplier, or had a couple jobs for some OEs. I went to the Monterey stuff in the motorsport reunion at Laguna Seca every year, barring the COVID years, of course. Laguna
Ooh.
Seca is wall to wall packed.
Yep.
Please explain to me how an invitational event, usually in the period of some of the worst weather, because it is usually either raining or really sodding hot. There's usually no in between. And yet, Laguna Seca is without fail at capacity every year. There is absolutely a market for NASCAR in California, even in Los Angeles. Do I know what the answer to that is? No, I don't. I don't know what goes on in their heads. But with some modicum of effort, I do genuinely think it is doable. But with that being said, we can move right on along.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, it's time for your favorite segment. It's Ask Bonte.
Okay, maybe we didn't need to move right
Oh
along.
my god.
With no regard for
Oh my
Dang.
goodness.
The stuff I
Actually,
go
I'm
through
gonna
with
take
y'all.
the helm here. I'm gonna answer the questions on behalf of Bonte.
All right, so
I've been working on my impression of
I'm gonna
Bonte,
ask all
so I
three
got it.
because we got three of them, and I think it's gonna be real funny. So the first question comes from John Ranjo at Ranjo49 on Twitter. He asked, Monte, I know you're a big diecast guy. My question is, what are your top 5 favorite diecasts you have? And I only want 5, and you can't do A's and B's. 1 through 5, please.
All right, pops. Number 5, Christopher Bell's New Hampshire win. I gotta put that in there. Jared. Tuh. Number 4, let's do Scott McLaughlin's Pennzoil scheme. That diecast I got in my collection. That joint fire. Number 3, I'm gonna have to go with my Bubba Wallace Hashtag diecast, the color crown. Number 2, it's for Bubba Wallace's first win. Number 1, Kansas win. There you go. Diecast.
I'm sorry, yo. Like, Arthur and I are dying right now off camera. I'm in tears. Oh, my goodness gracious. Go push through, though.
You call him Pops.
Oh, my chest hurt. I hate y'all so much. Why do we do
so
this to each other?
disrespectful, bro.
I hate y'all so
He in the
much.
same age bracket as you. What do you mean?
Right.
Wow.
Oh, God.
Oh, that was so funny. I'm sorry.
Next question comes
sorry.
from our friend Blair Don't Care. Blair, how do you see? She asks, where would you recommend someone's first NASCAR race, and what tips do you have for them? Do they get the headset, scanner, and pit passes?
Well, hell, that's not fair. He's just gonna say Milwaukee.
No,
That's not
no,
fair at
he
all.
ain't wrong because how the hell I supposed to know all this?
It's not Ask Carl. Okay.
Oh my
no.
God.
Here,
Carl, answer the question. You got that.
let me put on my
Ask him,
Bonte.
Carl.
Now, on behalf of Bonte, Blair, if you have the ability to go, like I talked about earlier, to go to Charlotte for the 600, any fan for that matter, that is the race of races to go to because there's so much to do the days beforehand.
Fan experience is awesome.
Yeah.
Oh wait, hold on, I gotta be Bonte. Yeah, it's cool or whatever. It's a major W. Gotta.
Oh my God, really, Doug?
That's so unnecessary.
That's it.
No, but yeah, Blair. If there's any track that I would tell anybody to go to, Definitely Charlotte. It's put on great racing with this car. I was wanting to go this year. It's not going to work out, unfortunately. But there's so much to do, even outside of the races and stuff like that. So it's a really great fan event to go
And
to.
go to
As
Milwaukee.
someone who's attended the 600, just
Oh,
remember
Lord.
there's 4 stages. The race isn't over when you get to stage 3. There's another 100 laps. So just be very aware,
Man,
very
Yeah.
prepared.
Bring
Be
snacks.
You
prepared.
not done yet.
pack a lunch.
Bring
Yeah.
snacks.
Snacks,
Bring some
water,
snacks.
juice.
Buy some snacks.
I had a whole
Hit the
buffet.
Coca-Cola midway thing.
I'm not gonna lie. I fell asleep when I went to the six.
Dog,
Of course you
I
did.
fell asleep in the stand,
dog,
and I woke up, bro. It was still like
dog.
2.5 hours of racing
Wait a
left.
minute. Wait a minute. How
I
are you gonna
napped
recommend someone?
stage 2 to
Yeah,
stage 3.
how you
And
recommend
it
somebody
How are you
wasn't
gonna
no
because
fun.
recommend?
no,
Stop,
no, no,
stop,
no,
stop,
no.
stop.
Because
How
wasn't.
are you gonna
because
recommend
because
someone to
because
go to a race that you fell asleep
I
at?
mean, it's Carl,
I can
so
tell you
because
why.
okay,
Because
listen.
that
Because no.
that was one of the Martin Truex Jr. beatdowns when he only led all of 5
No,
laps. It was extremely boring because he
if
ran away from the pack.
y-
You damn right I caught a nap.
if I'm not if I'm not mistaken, I think the 48 was like dominant that whole day.
Oh yeah,
It was
he was whooping
2014,
ass too.
and yeah, if you've ever been to a race, this is before the stages era. If you've ever been to a race, like sometimes with mile and a half tracks, man, because Texas they did it all the time. They cars just whizzing by us along green flag run, man. It's just that constant whir, whatever. You're high up enough where it doesn't hurt your ears, man. You get to kick back, you warm. You had your little $15 cheeseburger from
Oh
the
my God.
stands. Yeah, man, you take a little nap or whatever, ain't no big deal, man. Like I
Kick your
said,
feet
and
up.
You got
I
the
take a little.
itis.
Yeah, man. Hey, bro, I was chilling, man.
I see.
I had just turned 21 that weekend. I was like 6 Coors deep. I had they had a little burger donut, a
oh
donut burger
Lord.
up at the stands. I had that
And
sucker.
you want to?
Boy, I was
I
out.
bet you were
Vontae
because you
sent
had the
that pops
itis.
in
I
the
was
wrong direction.
You had the
I had the
itis. That's
itis. I
why.
was
Yeah, the
man,
itis.
that's a great time,
He was
man.
like,
I
oh
tell you
yeah,
what,
racing.
I tell you. No, it was fantastic. But I tell you what else. We also camped across the track that
Oh
weekend
yeah.
across the street, and them boys got buck wild. And I'm gonna tell you something, man. We had our buddy's car, and like we had like a little campfire, and this one guy just like come and he was just hanging out. We didn't know who the guy was. He was just hanging out at our campfire, and then we was like, "You need to go back to your campsite or something, bro?" And he was like, yeah." So we hopped in the car. I'm driving them across this giant field we're all camping at or whatever. And I'm like, well, where are you camping at? He's like, I don't know. And so we're driving, and it's like 2 o'clock in the morning, and he's calling people. And he doesn't even know where he's at. And finally, he just gets out of the car without saying anything and just walks off.
Mm,
I was like, all
I've
right,
had a night like
this is
that
one
once.
thing.
This
This
is
is
this
Yeah, man.
this recommendation went downhill. I hope you muted and came back.
No,
No, it's a great
okay,
recommendation. It's great. It's
okay.
fantastic.
But yeah, but understand. My experience at a lot of places is different than everybody else because I ain't got no damn
we
home
know.
training.
Facts.
Oh, we definitely know
That's
that.
Yeah, but Blair, no, you have a fantastic time at Charlotte.
It's gonna be lit.
What's the other Ask Bonte
The
question?
last Ask Bonte question is how. This is from Jr. Duran, Jr_Duran. Thank you for your question. How many races will Bubba win this year?
To be honest, at least 3. My
Where?
opinion. Where? Okay, so I'm gonna do
Where?
Redemption at Kansas after a blown tire.
Fair.
'Cause let's do New Hampshire. He's been hear me out. He's been consistent there.
I'm just shocked you picked a track where your boy Seabell like to eat lobster. That's crazy. But go
Yeah,
on.
but he crashed last year.
Does he know Seabell gonna fall off?
Here y'all go.
This is just
Where's his third win going to come from?
Third track, please.
Third track.
Third track, please.
Let's do Atlanta.
I can see that.
No, that's fair because he almost got it last year. Yeah.
No,
Yeah, he did. That's fair.
Yeah.
Take back
All
New
right.
Hampshire. Do the 500.
I was about
Let's
to
get
say,
it.
yeah,
You
go
gotta
for
put
that
Daytona on
500.
there.
Put it
Go
on
for
the
the
table.
500. Let's put it on the table. All right, now I'm gonna circle back to the Clash thing because I forgot a funny joke. Where was the electric car? In the midst
was
of the rain.
David Reagan's stupid ass wrecked
The
it.
night before, yeah.
I was wondering what
I'm
happened
sorry,
to
Jared.
it.
My bad.
That was
Oh,
I was looking
God.
forward to. I was like, man, I guess they gonna have it as the pace car or something because they can't do the little race. But I had no idea that David Reagan wrecked it. That's why you're not in
Yeah,
cup
there's some
anymore.
cell phone footage of it somewhere. I saw like a video on I think it was Facebook, but apparently David Reagan wrecked it, and I guess everything else they had going on that weekend, MGK not even showing up. NASCAR was like, we're not even finna broadcast this L in front of everybody.
Golly Moses. All right, well, I'm looking at the clock.
Poor Jackson
We
Storm.
got a couple more minutes left. Final thoughts? Are we gonna do 500 predictions? Because y'all ain't gonna see me in
Yeah, why
Dublin.
not?
Screw it. Let's do it.
Why not?
Um,
Yeah, why not?
we haven't seen the McDonald's scheme yet for one Daryl Bubba Wallace Jr., but I just know when we pull up in Atlanta, he's gonna have a sticker by his new name placard. I got Bubba to win the 500.
I
Think it's
agree.
time, man. Think it's time.
I think it's time.
It's been time. It's time.
As long them Toyotas can have each other out, we should be good. And not be
Hey,
a
man.
manufacturer.
That new camera look good.
I know,
That new
right?
camera look good.
And then it was crazy because people was talking crap about it. So about, oh, it's ugly, isn't that? What the hell up?
Oh yeah, it looks
That
fantastic.
camera.
That look
Yeah, it looks
beautiful.
fantastic. Yeah,
They a bunch of haters,
yeah.
but
I don't know. It's NASCAR.
right.
No.
Y'all go ahead.
All I want for my birthday
Anybody-
is a Bubba win. That's it.
Facts.
I don't care about anything else that weekend. He's got to win. Like I feel like it's coming. And I think he will get multiple wins this year, but I really want him to get Daytona because I know he can do it.
I'm letting y'all know right now we're gonna have a VLB twerk team contest. If Bubba win the 500, Kiana says you can put on the sequin dress. We go
Edit
live
this
on
out.
Twitch.
Edit this out. The editor notes tell you to end the show right there.
This could be the one.
We are unserious.
This could be the one episode Bubba listens to and gonna be like, "Oh Jesus."
It's
Sorry,
so
Bubs.
crazy.
But
It's so crazy how we just came off such a classy high from last week, and then now we're
Hey,
at
man,
twerk content.
we gotta get back to our roots. This
Right.
is the first full season
Are?
of Victory Lane vibes.
Oh my
Yeah, wait till y'all find out I'm putting AI Joe Biden on the intro.
Cut.
I'm not joking either.
You're not joking.
And that's
Cut.
you know what? The first time that you're gonna be that Hard Knocks gif trying to get in the drive. You go, your key card don't work no more. All right,
Hey,
Danny. Time
I
to step
can-
it up.
Oh,
Teach me, I'll
oh,
do
God.
it. God help us. All right, so I'm gonna actually answer the question and try to get us somewhat back on track. I want Bubba to win, of course. That's my number one pick in my heart. But as long as he
But-
has Christopher Bell and Martin Truex Jr. pushing him, he ain't gonna win it. I don't trust those fools.
That's true.
So I'm gonna go with the guy who probably should have won it last year, Kyle Busch. I think he might be. This might be the year he finally gets it.
Is he gonna have a
I
lawyer
would
on the
be
car?
cool with
He could do Morgan and Morgan.
No, he's got that Buzz Lightyear ass tobacco.
Oh
scheme,
yeah, yeah, yeah,
whatever
yeah,
it
yeah,
is.
yeah, yeah.
That Zoomer smokeless
Doomer.
tobacco.
The Zine?
Yeah.
Zine?
Yeah, no, it's not Zine.
It's the other
It's
thing?
some other stupid
Some
thing.
nicotine scheme.
Yeah,
Shoot.
I really hate that. Like he couldn't have a decent primary. That thing looks so goofy, bro. Like, come on, man.
Kyle went from the Dog Candy Man to nicotine. I'm like, okay, man. All right, we get it.
I like how I
Dante, you
picked.
got-
Oh yeah, you saw
Yep.
that tweet too.
I like how I picked Carl's favorite driver, and he still fussed about it.
Right.
I trust that way.
He ain't real, dog. He ain't real.
Oh man, dude, I hate everything.
He
I
know
like,
that
get
you
with the
hate
program,
everything.
dude. I genuinely hate
I just
everything.
think-
I'm never
He
gonna
ain't
be.
real.
I'm never gonna be happy with
I could
anything
be
ever.
like-
But if I had to,
I could be like, hey, Carl, I'm about to mail you a free diecast. He's like, man, I gotta fucking walk to the mailbox, man. Like,
now I'm really mad about it. 'Cause I gotta go. That's one thing I gotta censor.
You be
Whatever.
alright.
But if I had to pick,
No.
shut up, Bonte. If I had to pick a winner, this is off the rip. If I had to pick a winner, it would. I want to say Kyle Busch in my heart of hearts, but I know it's going to be something stupid happen. It's going to be like Justin Haley or
hell
whatever.
no.
Don't do
So,
that to me. Don't do that to
speak
me.
that. Don't speak
Don't do that to me.
man,
Oh Lord.
had it won a year ago with Bubba in tow, I was finna win either way, buddy. I'm gonna tell you. And then like we wound up with Ricky Stenhouse Jr. So after that, I learned that anything is possible to disparage my hopes and crush my dreams, and I should no longer expect anything good
Daytona
to
hates
happen.
me.
So, no, I generally think it'll be, if it comes down to talent and ability, and not yellow and not restarts, it will hopefully be the Kyle Busch, Denny Hamlin, or Bubba Wallace, because Denny Hamlin got that faux Boosie fade.
You mean the
So
Travis Kelsey haircut?
he got, well,
Dog.
if Leave It to Beaver got a Boosie fade, it would be
Oh
Denny
my
You
Hamlin's
know what?
haircut.
And at this point, ladies and gentlemen,
Cut.
we're gonna wrap the episode. Thank you.
Wait, no, Danny didn't
Time to go.
guess.
Yeah, Danny. What say
No,
you?
you gotta
I
let
gotta let
Danny
Danny
give her
go. I gotta
prediction.
let
He
Danny
just
go.
Y'all have to go
he's
too.
just saying that because he wants a chance to chirp again. That's
Right.
all.
No, I'm done
No,
chirping.
you're
I'm
not.
done chirping. You made me wait till 9 o'clock to record this.
Now
It's
we
8
get
where
to
you
go.
live,
Let's
but
go.
I'm glad to know you know how to tell time.
8. I don't. All right, let's go.
And this is what I deal with on a daily basis, ladies and gentlemen.
And this is why
All
she's
right,
done like
Danny, go ahead.
16,000
And no car
episodes
said.
of
Can y'all
of
shut up
chicanery.
and let her go, please?
I'm sorry, yeah.
Sorry.
But again, if everything goes according to plan, then yes, you would think a Blaney, a Hamlin, a Bush, a Bubba. Those are all of the folks who are traditionally very very quick and have acres of ability to bag a 500. But this is the 500 where all logic and reason goes out the window with about 15 to go.
Yep.
And we get 3 overtime starts and or overtime restarts rather, and then somebody dumb wins. So it'll probably be a Haley, a Stenhouse, probably a Katzgrala. He'd probably somehow find a way to back into a win at Daytona.
You know what? I'll
Kaz
take
win.
that.
I'm fine
I'll
with
take
that.
I'll take Kaz.
I'll
That's
take
fine.
Kaz win for sure.
The Cavs winning in the N29 car and just a full-on meltdown from old girl
Oh,
again.
God.
Just a
Man.
phenomenal Monday. It would be a
Stop.
phenomenal
Oh my
Monday
All
on
right.
NASCAR Twitter.
I will say to
Bah,
Danny's
bah, bah,
point,
bah.
trying to keep us on track. The last 3 winners have been,
Absolute
I'm
trash.
not going to say, well, I wasn't going to say trash, but I was going to say not the
Absolute dog
best
water.
plate racers
Oh
in
my
the
God.
field. How about that?
Hey man, I still gotta see Austin Cindric in the hands, bruh. We still gotta come to fisticuffs over that
Oh,
menagerie for
Bro,
this.
no,
sure.
we have to come to, no, I'll tell you, because Fitzicus with his Martin Truex Jr.
Yes.
Because had he not
Yeah.
hooked Bubba last year,
Yes.
I think
Yep.
it would have been a much different conversation by
Yep.
the end of that
John
race.
Hunter
When we done, we
Nemechek,
coming for
Yeah.
you too, Seabells.
Eric
Think we ain't
Jones,
forgot.
Jimmy Johnson. Please be the ones
I
behind Bubba. Please, I beg.
yeah,
I beg.
I hope that this time, and I guess it's 2 weeks from now, be
I
rejoicing.
hope so.
But yeah, but that's the show. If you made it this far, we're also streaming the iRace and Daytona 500 next
Whoop,
Thursday
whoop.
night from 8 o'clock to whenever the hell that race finishes.
What
Which,
day?
spoiler alert, folks, I'm not as good as Shane, so we'll be in the bottom split. It's going to be a whole lot of wrecking, but come along. You're welcome to come along for the ride.
Carl is competing for
In
30.
any case.
Right? For
I'm
40th,
not,
last
but
place.
I'm not. No, I'm not competing for 35th. I'm
He's in
racing
his
around
Stenhouse
people
That's
that like.
35th.
I'm racing around people that like somehow acquired, quote unquote, a roll of copper to sell at the pawn shop. All right, like it's not. Anyway, that's what happens when you race bottom split and I race Noble. Y'all will see it, man. It'll be a great time. I'll probably get into it with somebody and get heated
We
again,
know.
like I did
We know
last
you
year.
will.
So
Hey, just
yeah.
know the victory lane vibes Camry for this event is spectacular.
Yeah, shout out Swift.
Kate, bro. That's a pretty thing. But yeah, we are here. Welcome back, season 2. We will see you all after the shenanigans that is Daytona Speed Weeks. Ask your question on Ask Bonde. Follow us on all the socials. Make sure you go
Bonde.
back to listen to Chicanery. Make sure you go back and listen to the Warwick Scott episode that we just dropped. Listen to all the heaters. We appreciate y'all. Thank you for sticking with us. If you're new listening, we're not normally this off the hinges, but it was an exhibition race, so it
No,
doesn't
this
really
is
count.
fun. We deserve to have fun.
It doesn't really
Yeah,
count.
it's
It's an
fine.
exhibition race. We
Yeah,
won't.
it's
Save
fine.
me from
Exactly.
this
It's an
hellhole,
exhibition
please.
episode. We're fine. Yeah.
You know, Bonte,
Hey,
you're lucky he ain't
and
call you worse.
Oh, we know.
Christian Horner, I just wanted to let you know this is because you couldn't cook. You deserve everything that's coming to you.
Oh
Facts.
my god.
With that,
Facts.
good night.